Hi, this is Catherine from Outsource Elite again, and I am back with part three of my conversation with Carter Polsgrove from Momentum, and he's the Director of Voice Sales. And today we're going to finish up our conversation and talk about what Momentum's doing in the technology landscape. Welcome back, Carter.
Thanks, Catherine, for having me again.
Great to have you here again today. How is the technology landscape changing in terms of network and voice solutions? I know we've touched on that a little bit, but this is your time to kind of dig into it a little bit for all those nerds out there that want something a bit more technical. And what advancements do you think in particular businesses should be aware of within those, the changing solutions?
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, because when you think of, the evolution of technology, it's always changing. And some of the things we had talked about previously was more of that digital transformation. So your organization, making sure that your solutions are actually solutions and not products, enhancing the e-commerce reach for your customers and partners so that they can, in a sense, start the conversation with you via online or maybe perhaps do some purchasing, and then leveraging the AI component within your business or some of the technologies that we're seeing. But when you think specifically to Momentum, we're doing those, but also innovation with our partners that we partner with to be a service provider. But when you think of the evolution of technology and where organizations need to be aware of, and partners need to be aware of, is see what's changing. And for years, we'll go back to the UCaaS conversation, and then we talk about network. When you think about voice, we talk about what's happened in the UCaaS space. We looked at time when everyone bought phone systems. Then hosted voice came along. That turned into UCaaS. That turned into having apps on phones and working from anywhere. And then Microsoft Teams came along. And for a while now, what we've seen is organizations running two environments, Microsoft Teams and phone system. And when you look at the hosted voice space, there are over 300 plus hosted voice providers in the industry. It's far too many. So at some point, there had to be some consolidation of some sort. And what we're seeing now with Cisco buying BroadSoft, at one point BroadSoft had something like 47% of all hosted handsets on the desks. And so with that, they were a fairly dominant player. So with Cisco buying BroadSoft and then flipping all the soft phone applications to WebEx, it gave Cisco an immediate bump in subscribers. But Microsoft Teams, lo and behold, it was given away to all their end users. There's 320 million subscribers on that platform today. And so that's somewhat saturation. So now Microsoft is looking at this going, how do I enhance the value of Microsoft Teams by turning it on and making it a phone system? For years, the technology wasn't there. It hadn't evolved for a full phone system experience. And not only that, there wasn't enough service providers that could service the customer, meaning you want to manage your phone system? I don't think so. So you need a service provider to come in and to help you deploy those services, manage those services, and then support those services long term. So the evolution that we've seen in the past 3 to 4 years has been the amount of effort Microsoft has put into Microsoft Teams in creating an incredible phone system. So anyone that's been in this industry a long time knows that space is crowded, so what's going to disrupt it? I firmly believe it is clearly Microsoft Teams is going to disrupt the industry. So if you're an organization and you haven't looked at Microsoft Teams, it's time to look at it because you can find some efficiencies. And ultimately, what do customers want? They want to be able to service customers faster. They want happy users. And then you want to have tools that as you start to hire a younger workforce that comes into your workforce, they have the tools. You're not going to hand them older technology. My 16-year-old daughter sees me using Teams from time to time, and that makes sense to her. It looks like a Snapchat. It looks like the tools that they're using. So as that generation enters the workforce, they're going to want those tools to be able to work from anywhere. And you might have a hybrid workforce. So ultimately, what we want is to be able to service customers faster, organizations to make more money, be efficient, to survive. When you look at the past decade and you look at organizations that have died, they didn't evolve. Bed Bath & Beyond said, well, I guess that online e-commerce thing really caught us by surprise. And the list goes on, Circuit City, Sears. So you have to be evolving. I know it's a small piece. You think, okay, we're just talking about Microsoft Teams, we're talking about voice. It's how you service customers. If you can connect to customers faster, and Microsoft Teams is a starting point. Now we start to introduce AI components, online chat, omni-channel, Facebook. So now I'm able to respond to users faster because as the user for an organization managing that, I'm using one single pane of glass, and it's Microsoft Teams, to manage all my communications across all my platforms. And that's the piece. So if you're not having that conversation, it's time to have it. On the network side, we've seen the network go from VPN connectivity to MPLS. Now we're back to give me your lowest priced internet possible. Give me 2 connections, and I want to put an SD-WAN appliance at the edge. Even that has transformed itself because now we start introducing security components into our SD-WAN offering. When you look at the Momentum SD-WAN offering, that alone is exciting opportunity to talk to your customers about because we're leveraging the Juniper platform, which is revolutionizing that space as well with SD-WAN. Traditional SD-WAN was expensive. It was all measured based on bandwidth. So if you had a gig circuit, you'd have to buy a large box because of the throughput. Those days are long gone. The internet as a whole has improved dramatically. When we think of how we all connect to the internet, we're all connecting to an average of 5 to 6 applications, all sitting with the same company, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. All those environments have now moved to the center. So we're able to connect to services on the internet faster. So putting devices at the edge, SD-WAN devices that are throttling your network, slowing your network down, and costing you a fairly decent amount of money, it's just not necessary. And the internet's improved. So the reality is let the internet do what the internet does. You and I are both remote. We are doing a video call remote. It's a fantastic experience. That's the internet of today. So multiple things there as far as how the technology is evolving, but you've always got to be changing. If you're not changing, you're going to die. You know, saying if you're not making mistakes, you're going to try harder. So we're going to continue to evolve, continue to change, but what we see for the foreseeable future is a bright future.
That's pretty cool. So you talked about you've got a lot of different solutions there. We talked about network and then your security, SD-WAN, and then Teams. So how does Momentum ensure that those solutions are compatible with the latest technologies or what companies are using already? Can you talk about how you can approach an integration with something else, maybe an existing system or a CRM or something like that?
Well, when we think of compatibility, I mean, I'll just start with Teams again. I know I'm spending a lot of time talking about Teams, but I'm director of voice sales, so it's something I spend a lot of time talking about. But when you talk about security and compliance with Microsoft Teams, it's unmatched. So at one point in time, Microsoft Teams probably did lack some of the security and compliance concerns around what organizations consider compliant. So Teams is HIPAA compliant, it's GDPR compliant, it's E911, it's Carey's Law, and then other industries regulations that are very specific to it as well. And then when you think of, okay, so are organizations really using Microsoft Teams? Again, 320 million subscribers on Microsoft Teams. So the answer to that question is yes. Now, when you think of how many are actually using it for a corporate phone system, it's just a little over 20 million. So there's still a lot of greenfield, a lot of space to be had as far as a lot of market share to gain. So if you are a partner, then start having those conversations because there's a lot of opportunity. But when you start looking at some of the advancements within Microsoft Teams, let's take Copilot that's with Microsoft. It's an AI type platform. 66% Copilot is already being adopted and used in the Fortune 500. So 66% of all Fortune 500 organizations are using it today. So if you are a 100 employee, 200 employee, 300 employee organization, then you can use the same tools that a Fortune 500 company is using today on a per user basis, and it's not expensive. So the productivity tsunami that is coming for our industry and for the end user is very exciting. And you think of compatibility and integration, or maybe just when I talk about compatibility, integration, you think of, okay, at one point in time, if I had a phone system and I wanted to integrate, let's say, a third-party application for screen pop or just an end-user experience to where I can do an IVR. Well, that used to be complicated. APIs, time-consuming. Now with the integrated ecosystem of Microsoft, we are talking about go into the Microsoft Teams store, pull down the application, 2 clicks, URL copy and a login, and off you go. Your services are integrated, because what's happened is that the ecosystem that is Microsoft Teams, all the providers, whether it be CRM, Zoho, or Salesforce, have all built their applications and their environments inside of Azure. So what that means is Microsoft Teams is sitting in that same environment. So we're not sending calls out to the PSTN and backend and the hardboard. Those days are over. It's all in one environment. So that's an exciting piece, because the integration components used to be really difficult. Azure Express Routes, to talk about network, for example, if I needed a cross connect into Microsoft 10 years ago, that would have cost me a fortune. But now we're talking about Express Routes. Momentum is the 3rd largest when it comes to volume of Azure Express Routes that we're providing. So to be able to get close to Microsoft or other platforms, it's a very, very seamless process now, because like I was saying earlier, the internet as a whole used to be a very segmented, carrot type system, that it's all in a sense come together. When you look at the large data centers that are out there, 56 Marietta, and they're all across the country, but you look at these massive data centers where all the core content lives and everyone meets there. So when you think of integration, compatibility today in the year 2024, there's just endless opportunities for integration and compatibility with the applications and services that we all use on a daily basis.
Yeah, great answer. You really summed that up. Really good answer. So if we look ahead, where do you guys at Momentum go from here? Where do you see the growth and expansion? Of course, AI is the default answer in many circumstances. You touched on that a little bit, but how do you envision the future and what you guys are going to do and the role that you'll play as this is, progressing so quickly?
Right. Well, where we're focused is global expansion. So for us to continue to move upstream with Microsoft Teams as a corporate phone system, we need global expansion. So it's a very exciting time. Momentum is now in 70 plus countries for dial tone origination. We got there through an acquisition last year of a provider in the Netherlands, Horizon Telecom, which is a global next-gen service provider based in the Netherlands. So now we're at 70 plus countries that we can do dial tone origination that's porting, and that list is growing. So global expansion for dial tone origination is really important to us. And then global expansion on the network side. That is something that's always been there, but we're going to continue to expand our reach globally with network connectivity. So global expansion is a big piece. Now our Microsoft Teams environment, because it's not just, hey, we're selling you a Microsoft Teams phone plan and we're going to manage it for you, and here's your DID and dial tone and we'll manage it for you. It's more than that. It's wrapping in with services like contact center. So continuing to advance our contact center and the features that come with that. So again, that sit inside of Microsoft Teams. Right. But if you need that advanced contact center, those advanced contact center services, we're going to continue to advance that offering with our strategic partnerships. We already have a really strong offering there. We're just continue to firm that up. Call recordings constantly changing with new laws and restrictions. We're going to continue to advance that platform to where you need recording outside of what traditional Microsoft Teams can offer you. We have compliance recording and just wealth of other services within recording texting. We're going to continue to advance our texting services around Microsoft Teams. That is the texting piece with Microsoft Teams is exciting because not too many providers can do that. One of them can. You get into the texting component, you're talking about campaigns around texting, person to person, person to group. So we're going to continue to advance that, and that includes MMS. And so we're going to continue the fax that. We're real excited about faxing. So I know faxing, right? But faxing is exciting because that is a new advancement for us because it sits inside of Teams. So we have a patent on that. It sits inside of the store inside of Microsoft Teams. But that is a fully compliant environment, follows your group policies that you already have. Faxes come into SharePoint on OneDrive. Real exciting about that. And then kind of the last piece around Teams is going to be Teams call analytics. So Teams provides some really great analytics around reporting, but what we want to be able to provide is a more enhanced call analytics. So in our legacy BroadSoft environment, we had a really effective call analytics tool. So now we've introduced that into Microsoft Teams. So these are some things that we're going to continue to advance. And the outlook for us is how do we continue to advance those pieces that we wrap around Microsoft Teams to provide an incredible experience. And then lastly, partnerships, strategic partnerships. The landscape in the partner community is changing rapidly, quickly. So for us, the outlook is how do we forge new partnerships in the partnership community? And then how do we love the ones that we're with? Ones that are with us today, how are we teaching and educating them about where the market's headed, where we're positioned in, and for them and to equip them to have those conversations?
Yeah, I think, that brings me to, my final point as well. I think, when you're saying you have a really robust Teams offering and everything inside, really is the single pane of glass that we talk about all the time. And their ease of access and use, and then you wrapping your support around that, then it is just a matter of spreading that message to partners, because why would you not, want to sell that and work with that and have that as your system? I mean, I certainly have the Momentum Teams mobile app on my phone too, and it is fantastic. It's a game changer. It really is.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. You guys are doing a great job over there. Well, thank you again, Carter, for your time. I really appreciate it. You're a wealth of information, and a pleasure to have here. I hope you'll join me again sometime in the future.
I can talk on these subjects for hours. I love them.
Fantastic. I love that. Okay, well, thanks so much.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks.